Welcome back to the Wild Table. Today we're back in the beautiful Waikato and we're here once again with Brendan and Naomi from the Kiwi Outdoor. And we are actually going to pick up one of these amazing ovens that you saw in one of our most recent videos, and we're gonna have the privilege and the honor to take that oven on tour with us. So a lot of the wild food cooking that you're gonna be seeing in the next few videos is going to be with the Kiwi Outdoor oven on tour. Now, we've driven all this way, and it would be incredibly silly not to catch up with Brendan and Naomi and cook a meal on the Kiwi Outdoor. All right, guys, how's it going?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Yourself?
Excellent.
Looking forward to this.
Do you know what it is?
It's a pot.
It's a pot full of ribs, actually. Okay, so already in the oven, we've got a fresh butternut squash out of the garden, and in this pot, I have ribs. Now, they're ribs from a sambar deer, they're ribs from a fallow deer that a friend gave me, and they're ribs from a pig that we shot in one of the previous episodes. Now, ribs are one of those body parts that consistently get left behind in the bush by hunters. I see it all the time, and it grinds my gears because ribs are actually, when they're cooked right, one of the most delicious parts of the animal. And here's what I've done with them. Super simple recipe. Okay, I've taken the ribs and basically slow cooked them in a little bit of rosé wine with a little bit of stock, added some onion and some garlic, and that's it. Cooked it for 4 hours at about 180 degrees until the meat is just about to fall off the bone. And that's what's in this pot now. And then we're gonna take it, we're gonna finish it on the fire in the Kiwi Outdoor. I'll show you how in a second. Okay, so the Kiwi Outdoor behind us is already cranking, but Brendan and Naomi, just like ourselves, also really embrace this kind of lifestyle of growing your own food and then using that food to cook on the Kiwi Outdoor. So here we are at the moment in Brendan and Naomi's personal kind of orchard, really. There's avocados, there's cucumber, there's tomatoes, there's all kinds going on. I'm gonna catch up with these two right now, and we're gonna harvest a little bit of organic produce straight from the garden, and then we're gonna use that for dinner tonight. Man, this is just such a lush veggie patch. This is freaking awesome. Pretty much the dream for us is to be able to eat, obviously, as much wild food as we can get, but you know, to have a big garden like this, full of fresh produce and fresh veggies. I don't know, there's just something about that like connection to having grown your own food that's equally as important to me as getting your own food from the wild. So this is just about as good as it gets. Really looking forward to this meal. So, the Kiwi Outdoor. Right, we're gonna take that unit there on the road with us. Tell me, just a couple of things that I need to know. Actually, I mean, there's a million things that I want to know, but just to kind of nut out a few things that I need to know. Talk to me about temperature. Right now, we've got the butternut squash in there, and we're cooking it. What sort of temperature have you got it up to?
So I'm rolling at about 250 on the oven because the gauges are high, so they're a little bit hot. And then I've just got a fire on one side, and I'm just controlling that just with the full open damper and the other side closed, and that just allows us to maintain a good 200 degrees. Gotcha.
The dampers are just the slits that allow more air into it. Okay. And so generally, if you have the fire on one side, will it settle at the 250 mark?
Yeah, it will, and it depends on how much wood, of course. So with fire, you need oxygen and fuel, and the dampeners control the oxygen, and the fuel is controlled by you and how much you throw in.
Gotcha.
So I build an ember base first, and then depending on what I'm cooking, so if I want to get into a nice slow 120, 130, it's a small fire to one side, the meat's put to the other side, and then I use the dampener to the same size as the meat, so the air flows are all indirect to the meat.
Okay, that makes good sense.
Yeah.
And so obviously you've got the ribs, which then we want to cook on something nice and hot. So what do we do with that?
So there's a couple of options. One is we can just get a nice cast iron frying pan and just put it on the embers, and just use that. Or we can actually lay them up onto the pizza tiles and get more heat into the fire. And so it's about comfort though. Usually just 200 degrees on the embers is a lot more comfortable than 400 degrees
straight on the fire.
And then put it into the pizza tiles. So she gets a bit hot. So.
I noticed that the last time when I was trying to cook you guys breakfast, and I managed to get it a little bit crispy. But it's going to be a really fun journey, sort of trying to figure out exactly how to get the right temperatures for the right things. Is there anything else that springs to mind that I kind of need to know about how to control this unit?
some of the cool things about, because where you guys are going to be going is off-road into our native bush and our beautiful bush, and we don't want to burn that. So, you know, you've got an enclosed firebox, which is really cool from that point of view. You can shut this thing down when you go to bed. You don't have to worry about that too much. And the other part is that we put a spark arrestor in every single one of our fires, so that stops any major embers getting out, and that way it just protects our environment and we don't set the world on fire.
So the spark arrestor, is that kind of like a fine mesh or something that stops?
So it's a mesh at the top, and it's built to Australian standards because we actually don't have one. So we've looked around and we found the Australian standards and gone with them.
Okay.
So that's what we do, and our flue maker makes it for us.
So if I had this thing in Aussie and I was going to cook in the Aussie bush, this would be...
Potentially, yeah. I don't know the full Aussie rules, but we build to their spark arrestor standards.
Just a question, just in case the wild table starts travelling. Cool. I think that's plenty of questions for one sitting. But yeah, excited about getting those veggies out of there and then showing you guys how I do the ribs.
Easy.
Wicked. Okay, cool. So I've taken the spiced rum barbecue glaze and put it into a bowl, and I've got a nice brush here. So all we're going to do now is we're going to take the individual ribs that are already cooked in the pot, take them out and just paint them with the barbecue sauce, and then put them on the board. Then we're going to get the cast iron pans into the oven and get them nice and hot, and then we're just going to finish it with a little bit of heat. Wicked. Now I've painted these ribs with a nice spiced rum barbecue glaze, so we're going to bang that straight into the cast iron now and just get it all fried up. This is essentially already cooked. All we got to do is just really just give it a little bit of that extra heat to finish them off. Alright, so as I said, you know, it doesn't take very long to take those ribs and finish them off. All they really just need is a little bit of extra heat, and this oven, you know, just transmits exactly the right amount of heat through those pizza tires, so those ribs are good to go. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we got some mash made from the butternut squash straight from the garden with some onions and stuff in there, with some grilled onions. We got a nice fresh salad made from some of those homegrown veggies straight from the garden, and of course we got the spiced rum glazed ribs good to go. We're gonna eat those straight out of the cast iron pans. Let's go, guys. Eat it while it's hot. You know, that's kind of what you want. Yeah. Straight off the bone, melt in your mouth. Yeah. Excuse the messy eating.
Cooking food over fire. That to me is undoubtedly one of the greatest things. I seek it out, for cooking with fire has a way to draw you in and keep you present. Fire simply demands it of you. There is no cheating it. Fire commands respect. And if you're willing to give it, the result is usually outstanding. I believe the greatest food in the world is still and will always be cooked on a good fire. I do find though that when it comes to the crunch, what you cook with matters a whole lot. Fire is harsh and powerful, and mastering it requires gear that can stand up to the flames. So I'm stoked that for the foreseeable future, we'll be cooking on this oven.